Hey guys, what's up? And welcome to another episode of Brew and Build. Today's episode is going to be a bit different. It is going to be totally all time-lapse. I decided, you know what, let's try and get this video out just a touch earlier than we did last week. And I've been working on the next episode in tandem with this to try and get back on track with our recording sort of schedule. And so far, I think it's going to be able to be done. So hopefully I'll be able to get another video out to you on, I think, Monday, maybe Tuesday. It may take 2 weeks or so to get back onto the schedule. But today what we're doing is a variety of sort of smaller things, and just to make this area feel a little bit more alive. What we're doing currently is working on the pathway down by our first house, and originally I was going to keep it as sort of a dirt road path, but then I decided, you know what, this is right up in the city. It should be the same roadway as the above area. So I went ahead and made it into the cobblestone, gravel, stone, and smooth stone mixture, along with the granite brick and polished granite. Oh, and there's also mushroom block in there. And then right along here, you can see I'm starting to get into a little bit of a garden area is what it's going to end up being. And we built up some lore for this house, just a little bit. I've not really explored too much in lore in a while. I mean, I guess this whole Nether project is lore, but I'm meaning just individually not really had much in the ways of lore. And I wanted to explain why this house in particular is right next to the port area. And so the lore that we've kind of come up with, or I've come up with, is that this is going to be an area for a book writer. And the book writer is using the sea as a sort of means of inspiration. And so that's why he has the little tower to look out over the sea. He also can look out over the forest over in the background, and he can then, you know, write his books and kind of just go from there. And I thought that was kind of cool. There is a little bit of a more lore portion later on that you will get to see where he's actually doing his writing. There's a little outdoor writing area that we make a little bit later, but I think it's very cool to add this sort of lore. Now we're getting into, I've been trying to make these cliff areas a little bit more interesting, and so what I wanted to do is make it more unique, make this not just so gray, and the end result is very cool. But I tried smooth stone slabs, and I liked the look, but I didn't like it enough to keep it. And then I played around with a lamppost design and didn't really actually like it. Kind of went away from it. But here you see, it looks like a new block, but it's actually a new texture. This is the new diorite texture, the smooth diorite. And let's take a brief look here at a little overview of the new diorite textures, and we'll get into explaining why I made these. So here is the new diorite texture. What I've done is essentially tried to go back to the more of a vanilla look than the look we had before. I really like how everything's turned out. The diorite is now more of a white cobblestone, and I think it looks good overall. And the polished diorite also is very nice. I basically just wanted to change it back to a bit more of a vanilla feel. And so I was excited about the change. I think the textures look good overall. And so I decided to try and use this new texture, this new block look in our build. And I really did try quite a bit. And it ended up not really working out that well. I think it just is too clean for this area. I think it doesn't make that much sense. So what I've done later on is, like, I build all of this up, and then it kind of is like, I don't really like it, so I change it. But the reason we're changing it is because I didn't really love the old diorite texture that we had. I liked it. It was kind of like if you remember, it was like a flagstone almost type of look, and it worked decently. I just didn't think it looked vanilla enough to be in this texture pack. The more I looked at it, the more I was like, I don't really want to use that block. And so it kind of just ate at me a bit, and so this is going to be a part of the color update, these new textures. I also have updated the andesite, but we will get into that in just a little bit. But as you can see here, now we are going through and doing the replacing I talked about, and I decided to go with logs instead, oak logs, because it just made more sense, I felt. It helps break up. I think the reason I didn't like the stone brick or the polished diorite is because the stone brick blended in too much with the actual stone, and then the polished diorite was too clean for this area. This is not really like a polished stone that is like vibrant white wouldn't be next to the sea, I don't think. I think there would be too much like dirt and grime from inward like wind that would really be making it all smooth and clean. And so it just also didn't feel appropriate for this area. We're building with all sorts of dark woods and stuff, and so I don't know, I just didn't really like it. So I switched it out. And then this area down here, I have been meaning to update for quite a while. It just was kind of an eyesore, having a big just wall of stone. And so now we're getting into doing a bit of, I guess you could call it terraforming. It's not too much, it's more like landscaping, just making the cliffs seem a little bit more interesting. And I decided to do like where you see the polished diorite, we'll go through and make all of these walls a little bit more natural looking, as if they've kind of carved out the stone cliff and made it into its own natural wall. And then we go through and just roughen up, instead of grass, making path blocks and coarse dirt, and I think it looks really nice. And then I go through, and this is the new andesite texture, so let's take a look at that. So the new andesite texture is very similar to what we had before. It's just much more horizontal, like small cobblestone bricks instead of the rounder versions that we had before. Still a darker color palette than regular stone. I just thought that this felt nicer. And so we've updated the polish as well. And overall, I am very happy with how this texture turned out. The reason we're changing the andesite is because the other one, just to me, didn't work as well as I would have liked. It was too busy, even after I did some alterations to try and eliminate that. Before it was super busy, and now I think it's much better. It feels better in builds. It feels more like it actually works. And yeah, I'm just very happy with it, and you'll see it all throughout this build and this other things that we do today. This is the outdoor writing area that I have made for our writer house, and so he just has this little stick out deck area that he can sit down and look out to the sea. And yep, there we go, move the chair so he can actually look out to the sea and write a book. That book actually does have, I think it just has 1 or 2 pages in it, but it does have a little bit of lore, and so I really like how this has turned out. Now we're getting into just a bit of this sort of, I don't know what to call it, factory, I guess. Making the walls and building up some of the cliffs to make it look a little bit more like we're working on it. I didn't want to do too much here, just wanted to get started on this and just kind of pick away at it, I guess. And I also wanted to use the new andesite texture a bit, so you'll be able to see a little bit more of that in action. And so working on the entrance, just trying to make it a little bit more interesting. And then on the inside here, working out where the walls are actually going to be. And I think overall, the inside's not going to be that important for this build. We're not going to do too much, just doing like minor decorating. Because the main premise of this entire thing is purely the elevator. Like that little entrance that we just made right there, not gonna really do anything with it. It's gonna like lead to a black wall, I think, to show like there is stuff beyond, we just can't access it. And as you can see, we are building up the cliffs behind this blacksmith house and the Crescent Moon Inn, just wanting to match what we did previously in front of the little port area, or well, I guess behind the port area in front of the area the guy writes at. And so just wanted to prep this area for the next episode, and that is working on this area down here, getting it all prepped and ready, because we're going to be working on the blacksmith house and we're going to be working on the blacksmith's forge area. And so this is where the forge is going to be. It's going to be a pretty big forge, actually bigger than I was expecting. So it's going to be a little cramped in this area, but I think we'll be able to make it work. And so we're going to have to go through and destroy some of the stuff we've already done in terms of making this area look nice. nice. But the forge is going to go down in that upper right area. And then on the left where you see that platform is going to be an enchanting station. And then there's going to be some different stalls that are for selling small goods and stuff, and then also repairs. I want this area to be filled with like repair areas. This is not like the selling portion of the build. Now we're working on the blacksmith's house. I wanted to go ahead and finish this exterior instead of making a facade. I wanted to finish it because the next episode is going to be working purely on blacksmith stuff, and I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be really good. And so this is kind of the middle episode that is helping to get there, I guess. So building up the front end of this house and then marking out where exactly I wanted to build up the third story. And so I decided to go with a slab roof here and so this build is a little bit more interesting shaped. It's not just one big rectangle. I wanted to add a little bit of depth to it. And then we go ahead and add the roof on to this next portion, I believe, at least mark it out. And so, yeah, the blacksmith house is going to be very nice. So what I've decided to do is make the lower floor is going to be the shop. The middle floor is going to be sort of like storage / a connection point between the inn and the blacksmith. And then the third story is going to be the living situation. And so we are finishing up the blacksmith's house. The roof and everything is going to be made, and then some of the exterior walls on the third floor. And then this is going to be pretty much it for the time lapse. And then I'm going to have some overview stuff if you want to see some pretty shots of everything. I think it's going to look really nice. And then also I'll show also the new textures. One texture I didn't talk about is the granite texture. I did alter it a bit. I didn't alter the polished version, but altered the regular granite to be a little smoother, just a little bit smoother, not too much, but I think it looks good overall. And so I think that is going to do it for this episode, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed all the progress. Here's a good look at all of the new textures, and then also we'll take a look at some overview shots. But that's going to do it for me. If you like the video, leave a like in real life, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.